This could get chaotic quickly. The first order of business is what will happen with Ja Morant. He was seen, of course, a month ago displaying what appeared to be a gun in a video for the second time this year. The commissioner says he would wait till after the playoffs to announce a punishment. That time has come. Meanwhile, the NBA trade market expected to pick up. Teams like the Heat looking at going star shopping. Names like Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard appear to be out there. And then free agency begins Friday, June 30th. Star veteran guards, including James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Chris Paul, could be available. And actually, we were talking at the finals, Fred VanVleet, maybe not a household name, but certainly an excellent player. His name gets thrown into all of that as well. So let's dive in. Hahn is here, and Windy is there. And Windy, I'll start with you. The draft is 8 days away, so one would assume any big trades we're going to get should come before them. What are you hearing?
Boy, Greeny, is there a lot of chatter about the picks that could move around the top 10 in this draft. And one team that has emerged that really would like to move up from their spot at 14 of the New Orleans Pelicans, potentially hunting a star player caliber, maybe like a guy like Scoot Henderson. The Pelicans have had some cursory discussions from what I've been told. There haven't been any offers made necessarily yet, but it makes you really not take too far of a leap to wonder if and the league is certainly wondering if the Pelicans are going to make for the first time truly Zion Williamson available ahead of next week's draft. To get up to that level in the top 5, you'd have to consider a player of this caliber. He's obviously had injury history, a little bit of off-season drama recently. So I don't know if anything's going to truly develop there, but I think it's fair to say, based on my conversations, there's an eye being kept towards whether the Pelicans would make Zion Williamson available ahead of trying to get into that top end of the draft.
All right, so let's make it very clear what we are and are not saying. Brian Windhorst is not saying the Pelicans are looking to trade Zion Williamson, merely that people are speculating that they might. We, however, you can put this on the lower third if you want to. Greeny and Hahn are saying they absolutely should if they can. Is that right?
They have to. It's time for them to move on from Zion Williamson because he hasn't shown them that he is dedicated to them like they have been to him. They have been committed to him from the start, and he has not played in more than half of the games that his team has played since he's entered the league. Under 50% of the games played by the Pelicans, including play-in games, playoff games to get into the playoffs, he has not been available. He has been in other places. He is getting himself in trouble. Social media and other things with him. And then, of course, it's the diet. This man in his new contract extension that he just signed, almost $200 million, there's a weight clause in it that he has to be under 295 pounds. A weight clause in your contract. That says that your team doesn't trust you to stay in shape. So for them, they have exhausted all options. And now with the chance to get back up into a very high lottery pick, they might as well let Zion know we're done with you.
So the question then becomes, and look, I'm the one going all the way back saying that there had to be a cautionary note struck about him and his physicality when he was being drafted in the first place. And we've seen what has happened. The reality is when he's out, let's be fair to him, when he's on the floor, he's brilliant, and they're great. It feels like about 20 years ago. But before he went out at the beginning of January, the Pelicans looked like they were one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the entire NBA. They were right there with Denver.
Them and the Grizzlies.
Who just won the championship the other night. So what does that tell us?
Again, it tells us that when he's good, he's great, and he makes you better.
So but
he's not available enough.
How much risk is there in sending that player away that all of a sudden he does become available, and now you're the guy who traded away the guy who
eventually
wins the MVP?
You've got to cut your losses. You've got to realize it. This guy is a supreme talent. The question about him is another injury, motivator cuff.
Right.
Does he care enough to stay in shape and be as great as his potential says he could be?
Oh, I like that a lot. I'm stealing that and not giving you credit. Does he have a problem with his motivator cuff? How about it, Windy? What you hear the discussion here, and this obviously is not something that is new. What is the way the league views Zion, this brilliant talent with all of the obvious question marks?
Yeah, it is hard to find players of this talent level. He has proven he is an all-star. They would not have given him a maximum salary unless they believed that he was a core player going forward. And I think the key is here, the only way they would consider trading him is if they thought they were getting a player back of similar caliber. And the reason that this is even interesting is because you do have some teams at the top of the draft, particularly the Portland Trailblazers, who have expressed that they may want players who are ready now as opposed to developmental players. Well, if Zion Williamson is healthy, he is ready to be an all-star right now. But the if healthy thing is obviously very complicated. I will say this, the contract that he signed could potentially be viewed as an asset because it protects the Pelicans or whatever team inherits it from being stuck in a deal if he gets injured and to a severe degree later on in his career. But there is a robust conversation in the league right now about what Zion's true value is at this point.
Yeah, look, I mean, you have to ask yourself the question, how important is a player, no matter how good he is, if it seems he almost never plays? Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.